Welcome into the Bobby Carpenter Show, and man, are we excited today. We got a huge show for you. TreVeyon Henderson, Ohio State running back, is going to be joining us today, so that's obviously very exciting, Joshua. We've got some news on the Big 12. Conference name changes. Marketing everywhere. We're going to have our fan questions from listeners. Of course, we'll get some of our betting stuff from our friends over at Tipico. We've got some news. Big play. They bought a racehorse for giving our listeners an opportunity to get involved. How about that? Anyone who is interested in owning a share of it can do so by going to My Racehorse website or the app, or by buying shares for just $60 each. Our horse is a 2-year-old colt who shares a trainer with the Preakness champion, Sees the Gray. Be sure to follow along as we choose a name for it and watch its journey to next year's Kentucky Derby. Let's start the show with a little bit of ranking some sports movies. Joshua, I saw this come out, and I don't know, how big you are. I know it's list season, if you will, and it's the summer trying to find things to rank. And they had a list of football movies, and it was like 1 to 10. Remember the Titans, Rudy, Friday Night Lights, Any Given Sunday, Invincible, Longest Yard, Brian's Song, Waterboy, Draft Day, Gridiron Gang. And I looked at it and I said, there's no way this can be a legitimate list without the program. Now, I know that's a movie that probably came out at or right around when you were born, maybe even a little before. But as you see that list, you kind of look at it. Is there a movie that jumps out to you? Or are there any that you maybe haven't seen?
Half of this list I have not seen.
Really?
Haven't seen Rudy, and I've been told to never watch that movie, as a matter of fact. So I don't know if I'm going to give it any time. I've never seen Friday Night
Joshua, you
Lights.
work with the
Hold on.
flagship for Notre Dame football on NBC
Yeah,
Sports. You tell me you've never seen Rudy.
I know it's unfortunate. I worked with a guy once upon a time who played with Rudy, and he said that the movie was over dramatized. It's not worth my time.
Yes,
So
I would. Anybody from Notre Dame that I've talked to said that that's accurate. Any of the players, so I won't give you credence on that. So you can
yeah.
move along.
Okay, so I've never seen Friday Night Lights, and I'm actually ashamed to admit that. So that's a movie I need to see. Any Given Sunday, classic, Longest Yard, fun movie. Waterboy makes you laugh every time you've seen it. Draft Day is objectively a bad movie, but it is one of my favorite sports movies. Like it's, I don't know. It's just like that cheesy drama I'm definitely into. And then
Is it
Gridiron
is
Gang
it
was a pretty
good?
good one.
I have never seen Draft Day, and I don't know
It's
how. I'm gonna
it's
need to
really
watch.
not good. It's
Really?
really not, but it is good. Okay, like you'll see things that happen in that movie and you'll be like, this could never actually happen in the football world, but it's enjoyable and I watch it every year around the draft.
That's good. I haven't seen Draft Day. I missed it when it came out, and it seemed kind of ridiculous. And
It
so that's
is.
why I was like, I don't know if I can really watch this. Like it's a little like Rudy, I guess, if you played with him, like it seems overcooked a little. So I'm like, I don't need that. Any Given Sunday is tremendous because I like watching some of the stuff that happened and you playing in the NFL as well and seeing that like in the parties and stuff that they go to. And my dad told me, my mom, that they went to a party, I believe a New Year's Eve party at Lawrence Taylor's house.
Oh my
And
God.
my mom was like, we did not make it there till midnight, and we never really went back. I mean, my dad's like, he's a good dude. It's just because it really wasn't my speed of life. I think it maybe resembled that party a little bit more than maybe what my parents are kind of into.
Brother, if I had an invite to that party, I don't think I'd have pulled up there. The
Well, I mean,
stories about that guy.
they're legendary, and a lot of those are not over dramatized, Joshua. This
Well,
isn't.
it sounds like stuff that happens in a movie that could never happen in real life, but that was that man's real life.
Yeah, I mean, he was one of one. I really enjoy Remember the Titans. Um, and it was actually, gosh, I can't think of his name. It was the coach who was there. It was his birthday, the actor's birthday this week. And we just played some clips from it on my show on the Fan. And it's really good. And I think that movie is largely historically accurate. Obviously, you're going to
Yes.
take some poetic liberty with it as you sit there and try to develop some creative licensing, if you will. But that was good.
That movie
And
is something real quick that I think people right now need to sit down and watch. And like I'm, you know what I'm getting at, but I think one of the greatest things about being in a locker room is what happened in that movie. Is like these guys come from different backgrounds. They don't like each other. They really don't want to be around each other, and they have to. And they find a way to like unify in a way that is uncommon in society because you can't get that vulnerable. You don't get as vulnerable as you do in a locker room in the real
Yeah.
world. But people need to watch that movie right now.
And we're gonna get a little bit to some of the Tom Brady Hall of Fame induction. Like, I got a chance to go up there, and, like, you just see, because 'cause you've been in a locker room, like, the diversity of people that are in there with you is remarkable, and, like, it's as close as you're getting to the military where you strip down, like, all of the external things, and it's basically just an internal judge of what people are, and so it's pretty remarkable, obviously, to kinda get into that and to see it. So you're right, like, 'cause that you gotta think, Joshua, how old were you when that movie came out?
Oh man, I must have been. I was a little kid. I mean, that was a movie from my childhood.
Yeah. I mean, we saw it when I was in like, that's when you know you're, like, old when that movie, it's 20 some odd years old, and it was, like, age appropriate for me, like, we went and saw it with our high school team. Like, we all went together and saw that in the movie theater when I was, like, 16 or 17 years old. So, it, like, kinda hits probably like how the program hits for, um, guys who are, like, a little bit older, maybe more like Braves and Fick and those dudes, with everything, but it was just, pretty interesting, pretty darn interesting to kinda see all that and see how it happened. Um, like, the other one that I really enjoy, and my dad liked it too, and obviously, you get creative with this stuff, but the Invincible, I thought is a good movie as well because, I mean, I enjoy, like, true stories, the
Yeah,
historical referencing, and, Vince Papale, like, coming out and being a dude just who was the ultimate fan to then become, like, a special teams dude for a professional
right.
football team. That's, like, the real Rudy of, like, actually doing
Yeah.
something.
It was a good movie. And interestingly enough, I had the opportunity to cover his kid when I was doing sidelines for the USFL. So it was like, a hell of a crossover, and we got to talk about that story. But you're right, like just the idea of somebody basically coming off the street and saying, like, I want to chase my dream and actually making it is amazing.
It is, and, I was talking with Nate Ebner, who kind of Nate Ebner's, like, kind of the closest thing that they have to that modern day. It wasn't straight into the NFL, but a dude who had never played football before, walking on at a place like Ohio State, and then playing a decade in the NFL, winning 3 Super Bowl rings. Like, and I think they might be working on something around that with him, and I hope so, 'cause, Nate, you've got a great story, from the passing of his father to that being the motivation, the push, to everything, playing in the Olympics, like, there's just so much around it, and so you see some of those stories and just how absolutely remarkable they are and how exciting, they are to be a part of. So, summer little talk, but I'm just disappointed, like, that the program wasn't on that list at some point. You need to Have you seen the program?
I've not.
You need to watch it, like,
I'll put it on my watch list.
if you wanna have a window into what your linebacker slash defensive coordinator's life was like at Ohio State, I mean, the program might be the best window into mid-90s, early 90s football. It's a little dramatized, a little crazy, but some of the stories that I heard over, like, from people that are older than me, y they basically took all the issues, like, across the entire NCAA and put them on one team, but that's how the you've gotta do it to make it entertaining, so, we got that, but coming up next, we got my man, TreVeyon Henderson. Super excited to have him on here, talk a little bit about what he's doing. He's got a camp coming up that we wanna make sure that everybody knows about as well, I believe up, in your stomping grounds in Olentangy, so we're gonna have Buckeye running back TreVeyon Henderson join the program here next. Welcome back into the Bobby Carpenter Show, and appreciate you guys watching. If you're watching on Bally's, thank you. For watching on YouTube, please continue to like, subscribe, leave your comments. We love talking, love having the interaction. Now we're pleased to welcome, and one of my favorites, a guy who's been a huge impact on this Ohio State offense over the last 3 years. My man TreVeyon Henderson. Trey, thank you for taking some time with us today. And I just want to kind of talk a little bit about your journey at Ohio State. You came here 3 years ago
Uh,
and you're number one running back in the country. What has it been like kind of growing and developing over these last 3 years?
it's man, it's been really good, man. You have a lot of ups and downs, throughout my college career. But I'm so thankful, for the opportunities that God has blessed me with. I'm so thankful that everything He's took me through and allowed me to go through. It made me, it helped develop me, as the person I am today and the player I am today, man. But I'm so thankful to be here, at Ohio State, one of the best universities, shoot, in the country. So, it's truly a blessing.
Now, you mentioned some of those ups and downs. Part of that is injuries, and it's part of the game. It's happened to all of us who've played it. But how do
Uh,
you keep your head in the game? Like, how do you keep your mind right as you're trying to recover from being banged up?
man, really just keeping my eyes on God, man. That's the most important thing right there. Just trusting His plan. It's the reason that He allows me to go through everything that I've been through. And man, I'm just so thankful that He took me through it because it humbled me as a person, and it helped me to learn a lot and see a lot of things. It definitely opened up my eyes and see that God was with me the whole time and just carrying me through. So I'm thankful for everything that He allowed me to go through.
We've talked a lot, about faith, and and Emeka did, deal with the walk over there, talking to some young people at Upper Arlington High School. And it's one thing that I've kind of seen a lot of, and getting a chance to be around everybody, and the impact, of faith. Like, when did that kind of start for you, Trey? I mean, was this something that was in high school? I mean, was this a development on the team, and kind of how did that push happen?
Man, it was really my sophomore year after I went through my foot injury, and man, I remember after getting surgery, the Lord is, He opened my eyes to see, how much sin I was living in, all the bad things that I've done all my life, and although everything, at one point in time, everything was going my way, I was still broken and hurting inside. But, Jesus, man, He came into my life and took me out of all of that and, helped me to turn away from idolizing football and all the other things, man. It helped me to start living for Him. And, He changed my life, changed my heart. And, ever since then, my purpose has been, to play this game, to glorify Him and to, for the love of my brothers also, man. We put a lot of work in. We go through a lot, man. So being able to encourage the guys on this team, to trust the Lord and keep their eyes on the Lord, and it's been, man. I'm just so thankful that God has allowed me. He has entrusted me, to be a part of His plan of helping His kingdom grow and helping lead more people to Him. And so, man, we had guys that like Cam Babb, Master T, Xavier Johnson, man, who's been planting seeds into our hearts since the very beginning, man. When I was far away from the Lord, man. But I'm so thankful that God has made that seed grow into our hearts, man. And now we got brothers in Christ on this team, man, who's really helping this team grow and helping more players. And you see it in coaches, you see it in everybody around the Woody, even outside the Woody, starting to turn to the Lord, man. So it's amazing to see how God is growing through this team.
Now, I got to ask you, you made a big decision in the offseason to come back to Ohio State. And there were a lot of guys that were pondering what their decisions were going to be and ended up coming back. For
Yes.
you, what was the driving force in making sure that you wanted to be back at Ohio State?
Man, at one point, shoot, I wanted to leave, man. I wanted to go to the league. That's something I've been working for, all my life, since I've been a kid. That's been a dream of mine. But, I'm so thankful that, God redirected my steps and led me back here, man. It's because, just like physically, do I think I was ready to go to the league? I feel like yes. But just like, spiritually where I was at on my walk with the Lord, I wasn't ready yet. There's still more that He wanted me to go through here. And there's still more, He's not done with me, right here, being back here at Ohio State. And so, man, I just realized that, He want to continue to work through me to lead others to Him. And so that's the biggest thing, man, is just allowing God to use me this year, however He wants to use me, however type of player He wants me to be, however type of leader He wants me to be. That's who I want to be. Who God calls me to be, and whatever that looks like, whatever I got to go through again, I'm willing to go through it for His glory.
It's amazing, Trey. I love talking to guys, and I know Joshua's felt the same way. I'm 10 years older than him, and he's about 10 years older than you. And to
Yeah.
see the impact that you've had on the team and just the maturity of everybody. And it's absolutely tremendous to
Mhm.
watch college age guys with that type of perspective and maturity.
Yeah.
And it, so you talked about Master T, you talked about Xavier, talked about Cam, guys that are all gone. People talk about leaving a legacy, and that's a legacy of banners and rings and all that, and I get it. But one of the things I've always said is the legacy is what is the room like when you're gone, whether that's
Exactly.
your team room, your meeting room, like your position group. And so as you like having a position of leadership now, being a senior, what has that leadership been like as you've been taking that on here, not just in the way you're not on the field, but helping to develop, some of the young running backs and other offensive guys?
Yeah, one thing, I've really been praying on is just like that the Lord continue to keep me humble, to humble myself before the Lord and humble myself before others. And so, just in the running back room, it's just like, man, putting those guys, before I put myself, trying to help those guys, along the way, and not having any jealousy or envy, in my heart towards them. Of course, the enemy tries to put that into your heart, but the Lord has really been protecting my heart and really helping me to help those guys, help those guys accomplish what they want to get done. And however I can help those guys and be there for those guys, man. I'm so thankful that we got such great guys in the room, as Q, James, TC, Sam, and we got a lot of great guys in the room, and that's going to do some special things here, man. So just trying to encourage and help those guys, however I can help, man. That's what I want to do.
You mentioned being humble, you mentioned the humility, and that's obviously got to be big this year because you talked about Quinshon being in the room there. What's that adjustment been like? Now you got two alpha dogs right in the running back room. You're gonna have to split the pill a little bit. It's an opportunity for everybody, but how have you guys been talking about that opportunity heading into the fall?
Man, it's been amazing, man. Quinshon, man, he's such a great person, man. Really, really humble, man, and he's really eager to learn and get better, man. And just having that competition in the room, man, it makes each and every one of us better, man. That's the good thing about being at Ohio State, man, is you got that competition in the room. So you can't take no days off, man, because you got somebody who's trying to take his spot. So it really helps me, to stay on point and every day, just try to bring it every day. And me and Q, man, just trying to push each other, encourage each other, and compete with each other to make each other better, man. But it's definitely, man, he's going to be a huge help to this team and play a huge role to this team, man. He's going to be really good.
So you talked about that leadership and developing the young guys and being unselfish. And one of the great things is I love watching, the veteran, the senior guys at the end of the lift. You go around, you're cleaning up the weight room, you're picking up all the towels. Like,
Yeah.
When did that all start? I remember seeing Xavier do that. Kyle would do it last year. Some of the older guys, like going around and literally picking up all the sweat rags that everybody's got. I don't know if there could be a more humbling task to provide.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. You said Xavier Johnson. That's really ready where it started from right there, man. And seeing Xavier Johnson, every day pick up the towels, take on that humble road to do that after everyone else. And I'm just, man, encourage me, seeing my brother in Christ do that, man, and encourage me. I feel like that's something that the Lord wants me to do also, man. Is just take on that humble role and be able to clean up after others and take care of the little things, because those are the things that matter and can take a team far, man. It's been encouraging other guys, also, man, to just take care of the little things, pick up the towels, clean up after others, man, and take care of our, special facility that we got here, man. So yeah, man, it's been, it's definitely been encouraging a lot of guys to do so also.
That's tremendous. Well, we're going to take a quick break. We got Trey's going to get out here in a minute, but he's going to come back for one more segment, talk a little bit about his camp, a little bit more about that running back room and the new running backs coach, maybe relationship with Tony too, who Joshua loves as well. We'll get all that here coming up next on the Bobby Carpenter Show. Welcome back into the Bobby Carpenter Show, and still with us here, our guy, TreVeyon Henderson, one of the best, and getting a chance to talk about his walk, his faith, his leadership, everything going on. And, it's a little bit of transition this year. One of the longest tenured coaches that was currently on staff, your running backs coach who ended up leaving, Tony Alford. I was a big fan of Tony's. Joshua loved him. He was there when Joshua was playing. That's how long he had been around. And talk a little bit about your relationship with him, Trey. He was the guy that recruited you, and it's always kind of tough to pivot to a new position coach. But, your relationship coming here and being developed by him for 3 years.
Yeah, man, it's been amazing, man. Like me and Coach Alford, man, the relationship that we have is so strong, man. And just man, when I see a lot of people tearing him down because he went to the team up north, it's like, man, they don't know him, the heart that Coach Alford has, man. He has a really good heart, man. And he was there, just shoot, when I came in from, where I was at, man, coming here at Ohio State, man, there was a lot of things that I was going through. And man, there would be times at practice, man, where I would just have so much anger in my heart, where I just go away from the team and break down, man, and cry, in the middle of practice, man. And man, Coach Alfred will always be there, to have him to lean on and to be able to have those talks with him and tell him, the things that I was going through and, the things that I've been through in my life, man. And he was always there, man. So I can lean on, man. He's been a huge help. Man, God has used him to play an important role in my life and on the field, help develop me on the field, man. I'm so glad, man, that he has the opportunity to continue to do what he wants to do there, man. It's nothing but love for Coach Alfred, man. That's what God teaches is love, man. I'm not, gonna hate him for something foolish over going, to another team, man. It's nothing but love for him, man. I really appreciate Coach Alfred for everything, all that he's done in my life.
No, I'm definitely glad to hear you speak about him in that way. And he was somebody who I'm still very close to, but the way that he would talk about you and other guys in his position room, he saw you guys as sons. And so I know how much relationship was in there and how big of a deal that is. But now you've got a new relationship that's building with Coach Lachlan, and he's been impressive to me. I've not got the chance to meet him yet, but
Yeah.
following his
Jack,
journey,
Joshua, he's like a full day's work.
I see. Listen, when I come in there, I'm gonna be real respectful because I don't want to mix it up with Coach. But following his journey and seeing his presence and how uplifting he is, what has that transition been like for you working now under another coach?
Man, it was tough at first, just not having Coach Alfred in the room, man. I've been there, with him for 3 years, man. But Coach Locke, man, he's been really good, man. He's a strong believer and follower, of Christ, man. So just to have that in the room, man, that's really, really important. And it's definitely, man, he's shining the Lord's light on each and every one of us, and encouraging us every day, sending us scriptures in the morning to get our day started and make sure we're keeping our eyes on the Lord. And he's been tough, man. He coaches us on the field, man. He coaches everyone tough, man. Everyone gonna get it. So, man, that's the thing right there, man. It's just helping me to not get complacent, man, and having Coach Locke on me each and every day, man, pushing me to get better, man. So, man, yeah, man, I love Coach Locke, man. I'm excited he's here.
He's tremendous, and his story's awesome, Trey. I mean, how he got to
Exactly.
where he is. Like,
Yeah.
you've been talking about appreciation and gratitude. Gosh, guy's absolutely tremendous. So you got new running backs coach and a new OC coming in with
Yeah.
Chip Kelly and Chip Coach Ryan in college. Similar philosophies, but I always say as good as Ryan is in the pass game, like because he's a wizard, Chip is a wizard in the run game. What has that been
Exactly.
like here going through the spring? With you and Q and trying to figure this whole running game out.
Dude, man, it's been good, man. I definitely can't wait to put it all out on the field this year, man. Having Coach Day, his offensive mind, and Coach Kelly, his offensive mind put together, man. It's dangerous, man. It's dangerous, but y'all will definitely see that, man, this season, how that all plays out, man. We got to keep putting in the work and executing, man. Something I learned, over the years of just being here, man. Talent only takes you so far, man. You gotta put in the work, So we've definitely been putting in the work, and so we're going to keep doing that, man. And yeah, you'll definitely see it on the field, on those Saturdays.
Now, we talked about it a little bit earlier, your decision to come back. A lot of guys obviously coming back for one more year. And the common theme from everybody we've talked to that came back is this idea of unfinished business. Want the gold pants, want to be able to chase a title one more time. From a leadership role, how are you instilling in everybody on that roster the urgency of this upcoming season?
Man, just trying to take it one day at a time, not looking too far ahead, not looking at the game that's all the way down the road, man. But, just focusing on what we have in front of us right now, the blessing that, God wake us up every day and, be able to come here and put the work in with my brothers, man. We've been putting a lot of work in, man, and going through a lot of things, man. But the leadership, with the guys coming back, with the transfers coming in, is getting much stronger, man. The bond on this team, man, it's amazing to see how God is bringing us close together. And man, Coach Mick has been on us really tough, man. He's been working us out really hard and putting us through tough situations where we have to lean on each other, man. So that's been helping us out a lot, man. I just, I can't wait to see, just to keep going. And, when that time comes, down the road, when we played, in a big game, when we play in the Big Ten, when we do all the things that we're looking to do, man, it's definitely, the work that's put in right now, man. That's what's going to pay off.
So, Ryan's talked a lot about when, they made the decision. He talked to IGB about bringing in Q, and he said he reached out to you, and so you were all on board with it. Great teammate. What were your thoughts when he first did that? And you're the guy, and then we're looking to bring in someone else. The humility to do that. I mean, how did that process go for you?
Man, it was really just the Lord, him continue to work on my heart. And like I said, man, guard my heart from, jealousy, envy, and pride, man. And, not making everything about me, man. But like, man, how can we help this team? How can this team get better? And man, having Quinshon, man, as you see, man, he's a really good back, really talented back. And having him on this team, man, is going to help us out a lot. It's going to help me out a lot. And, just keep me to keep going and not get complacent and keep working, man. And just, yeah, like I said, man, it's gonna be really amazing, man. Me and Quinshon in the backfield, and especially the young guys too, man. Our room, man, it's really amazing.
So I want to bring up here, you've got the TreVeyon Henderson Youth Football Camp. That's coming up here Friday, June 28th. It's going to be 9 to 1. It's at Olentangy High School, grades or ages 6 to 18. Now, Joshua's an Olentangy guy, Trey, so this is great, but it's brought to you by Canes, the Centric Sports Group, the Walk Foundation, a lot of great things. So you get some of the young folks out there, give them back. I mean, what's going to be the message at the camp?
Man, I'm gonna have something on the shirt with the cross, man. John chapter 3, verse 16. I know it's mental health awareness month, and so just to let kids know that they're loved, man. They're loved by Jesus. They're loved by our Heavenly Father, man. So that's the most important part right there, man. But be able to have those kids, come and try to develop their skills, man, and teach them some things on the field, man. It's gonna be really amazing.
Well, Trey, man, I loved having you on. It's been tremendous. Even though you called me out for only putting one foot in the bag on the last, I had to jog back there a couple of weeks ago, which is good. Hey, that's
Stay on him,
leadership.
Trey. Stay on him, Trey.
Nobody's above the team. So I appreciate that, Trey. Appreciate you coming on, man. And Joshua and I always talk about this. It's awesome to see the type of team that Ohio State has in that locker room the way it is. So keep leading, keep doing the things that way. So thank you, Trey, for coming on. Next, we're going to get a little Tom Brady, a little Big 12 naming rights, how that's going to look. So stay tuned for on the Bobby Carpenter Show. And how great was Trey Henderson? One of my favorites. And I think we got a chance to talk to a lot of different guys so far, Joshua, from the team. And I mean, they're different guys, but they're all about the same. Like when you start talking what they're about, how they operate, it's very refreshing to see in an era now of like transfer portal and NIL, and you see a guy like that, and just running backs, receivers, like guys who carry the ball a lot. I mean, it's easy to have a big ego because the spotlight's always on you, and to listen to Trey talk and how he is pushing through that, and it's all about team. Man, it is very, very refreshing.
Yeah, and it's so interesting, man, because I talk about this all the time, but like we all know guys from different eras, and the one thing that I can say is like it's always been a quality locker room. Like people can throw as many stones as they want, but like there's some really impactful dudes walking around that building, and it makes me proud as somebody who shared the same locker room as those guys, back in the day. Like it's great to see what type of people they are.
It really is. Doing a great job there. So we'll keep bringing you more guys throughout the season. So we appreciate that. Ohio State's in the Big Ten. Probably going to remain the Big Ten, at least for the foreseeable future. Maybe the Big Ten presented by at some point, presenting sponsors. But we're looking out to the Big 12, which Joshua's a younger conference. I mean, it's not the Pac-12. It wasn't the SEC, not Big Ten or even ACC. Big 12 came together in the early 90s. So, 30 some odd years of history, and teams have come and gone a lot, but they're looking at not even calling it the Big 12 anymore. Like we're talking maybe like the All-State 12.
Oh boy.
You look maybe
the Big All-State.
The Big All-State. I mean, I think the AAC, the American Conference, is looking at it like the USAAC Conference. I mean, just blend some of this stuff together.
The Chick-fil-A AAC Conference.
Yeah. I mean, when you hear this, like how does that kind of hit you, Joshua?
I mean, it's the world that we're living in. Like this thing can't get corny. Like it can't be chintzy and the names can't be like weird, but everybody's trying to find a revenue stream that they can monetize. And I think it's a responsible thing to do. in the world where now you have back pay from this lawsuit settlement, and you're going to have you're going to have athletes that you have to pay through the university, it would make sense. And so I think that there are a lot of people that are betting on the sport of college football. And what I mean is, like, these companies want to work with collegiate athletics, particularly football, and you have these conferences that are saying, okay, we need a little bit more money. I think this was natural. I just don't want it to be like weird.
And I don't, like you said, if you're going to do this, this can't be something that you're changing every year. It's got to be something that you're locked into for like a decade plus agreement, because nobody wants to have your conference flip every 3 years of whatever the heck
Right.
that is. It's like the bowl games now. But I'm with you. It's a revenue stream. And I was talking to Jacob Hester about this. I go, once it's mentioned, once it's brought up, it's going to happen. It's
Yes.
really now, it's a Thanos situation. It's inevitable. Joshua, like once you start talking about having a kid, like it's going to happen. Like, I mean, it's just the matter of time when all those things. I don't think it'll happen this year for the Big 12, but if they can pick up, they talked in the range of 30 to 50 million annually. So
Yeah.
if you take 50, about 16 teams, you're talking $3 to $4 million a school. Like, I mean, you got to find a way to bridge that gap with what the Big Ten and SEC have. And so I get it. The bigger question will be is the ACC, because that's got some proud academic institutions. It's
Yes.
a historic conference, but they have the same revenue shortfall. So that's what I'm really curious to see how they handle this.
Yeah. And like you said, it's a little bit more difficult when you've got more history as a conference to try to pull something like this off. So I'm curious what their plan of attack would be. I personally would rather see this in terms of a presenting sponsor naming rights than the private equity idea that's been tossed around, where they give up 20% of the conference to a private equity firm, and if you followed some of the dealings there, they
Yeah.
they got a way of getting the recouping their investment that doesn't always work out for the person that does the deal with them. And so I think you got to get creative in this day and age, and this is certainly creative.
It is. The private equity piece. Yeah, that's another interesting, talking about bringing in maybe 20, they get 20% of the conference, the future revenue for $1 billion. So that's like putting a $5 billion valuation on this. And like you said, companies want to be involved. If private equity wants to be involved, like they see the trajectory of where this is ultimately going, because outside of the NFL, the next most valuable property in television, it's live sports, it's college football. And
No
so
doubt.
there's a reason why there's going to be 50 million people watching Ohio State or Michigan, or maybe 40 or whatever it is. Like these playoff games are going to be huge.
No, the playoff is the thing, man, and I think that's kind of what we've been betting on as a collective, is what happens now when you get these marquee matchups at the end of the year, and it's going to be fun to watch.
All right. So our next favorite segment, fan questions, tailgate talk, brought to you by our friends over at Garage Beer. We'll get into that here next. All right, welcome back into the program. Now we got tailgate talk, brought to you by Garage Beer, beer flavored beer. It's delicious. June is Steel Month with our friends at Garage Beer. They're partnering with Heinen's to help you celebrate. You can save $2 when you buy a 12-pack of Garage Beer and any Heinen's steak. That sounds terrific. Send us a pic of your best grill setup on social media, and we'll select our favorite ones to receive some cool prizes from our friends at Garage Beer. They got some great brand, great swag. It's delicious. Kelsey brothers are now involved. It's one of my favorites, and I'm involved with it as well. So pretty great. There, Joshua, it's one of the questions coming in was kind of directed to Trey, but a little bit to us too. Just the role of faith a little bit on this team, as we've heard these guys talk now the last handful of weeks, and how that's impacting this Ohio State locker room.
It's a really interesting thing when you think about faith in terms of sports. And I was a guy who was involved on campus with Athletes in Action and FCA, and it's when you're an athlete, there is a lot of believing in things that you have not seen or you have not done before, right? And so, like, I think if you're somebody who has submitted your life in a faithful way, that's just a way of living. And I think it helps you. Trey talked about it, right? Like the injury coming back, like there's not a light at the end of the tunnel immediately. And so there's a lot of walking through darkness and having to see beyond that you need to do. He talked about the humility and taking envy out of the equation when you bring somebody in who is elite right next to you, same position. And so I think when you have that background, it certainly helps your journey in terms of being able to handle all the things that are thrown at you when you're a student athlete, in particular at a place like Ohio State.
It really does. And you hear that, like just the humility element, like you said, the faith of pushing through things, the injury. I mean, football's a violent game, like, and
It
you're going to
is.
get beat up, and understanding like, hey, this is all part of the journey. It's all part of the path. And it was hard, man. If anybody who suffered serious injuries when you're young, and I broke my leg when I was in high school, couldn't walk for 3 months. Another 3 to 4 or 5 months after that of like being able to run. And even after that, like not really feeling great for almost a full year. And you begin to ask yourself, like, am I ever going to be better? What is the purpose of this? Like, why did this happen to me? You ask a lot of those intrinsically selfish questions. And like the faith element, I think helps bridge that gap immensely. And it's great to see the Trey. And I'm going to be honest with you, like he's a different guy than the guy who I saw there, like his freshman, even sophomore year last year, because I didn't think he would come back, to tell
Mm.
you the truth. And then to see kind of the change in his heart and how he operates and the leadership. When you watch guys, Joshua, your stars, and you talk about like servant leadership, and Schleggs talks about this a lot. And, Mick always said your best players and your best leaders and best grinders. And when you see the guys who are the stars of the team after a lift, walking around picking up like the sweat towels, I mean, that's gross, dude. Like a lot of people would wear gloves, and Xavier would do it, and it was remarkable.
I'm gonna tell you something about that too, because that one hit me when I was playing at Ohio State. That was something that we used to do in the locker room. We would, after practice, we go by and we pick up towels. We make sure guys' cleats were put where they needed to be, nothing on the floor, nothing out of place. And it's a little detail, but it is a leadership thing because the locker room's your home and you want to take care of your home and you want it to be a comfortable place. But it's that workman mentality, right? Like we're gonna do all the things we need to do. We're going to help our brothers out when they're not helping themselves. And I think it changed us in a way where that became our mentality. And so I'm personally happy to see that these guys are taking that on, because it sounds like a little thing and it sounds like, whatever, but like it becomes something that is a part of you and it permeates throughout the team.
It really does. It's tremendous to see that. And I was fortunate enough, to play with Tom Brady for my last year of my career, 1 year up in New England. Was up there in Boston or Foxborough for his Patriot Hall of Fame induction. And it was unbelievable because they had all these panels of guys up there. You have Kenny Chesney playing, Jay-Z opening, Bill Burr's doing monologues, Mike Tirico's the MC. And then they had like kind of three groups of player panels. They had like three quarterbacks with them, and they had three pass catchers in Edelman, Gronk, Randy, and Wes. They had like three of his quarterbacks with Drew, Hoyer,
Matt Castle.
Matt Castle up there. And then they had three defenders or four defenders with Willie McGinnis, Ty Law, Devin McCourty, and Vince. And like McCourty was the young dude in that, but those guys were with him like when he was young. The rest of the guys kind of when he was like the senior player. But everybody to a man, like the two things that you heard permeate, Joshua, is the guy was a relentless worker, always trying to find an edge, highly competitive. And the other part of that, great teammate.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted to know everybody on the team and would go up and introduce themselves to everyone on the team. And like, I'm a defensive player. He doesn't need to know me. Coming up, Tom Brady, nice to meet you. First and last name. It's really excited, had like a personal anecdote. And when you see that, like, this is a guy you want to play with and a guy you want to play for.
I'm gonna tell you real quick, it makes a difference in the locker room. When I went to San Diego, and Phil Rivers, for as good as he was, there wasn't a lot of that to his game. It might have been because he had a million names to learn at home, and so I kind of get it from that perspective. But like that wasn't his thing. I got to Indianapolis. Andrew Luck comes up to me. I'm a dude who just like is barely on the roster. He sits down, he shakes my hand, we have a conversation. And like it feels different from a leadership standpoint when you got a quarterback like that.
Absolutely. We got our betting segment, Tipico Sports, coming up next. Final segment of the program, terrific show today. Talked a little name changing with conferences. We had TreVeyon Henderson on, who's just a remarkable young man. Got into some stories, obviously, with faith in the locker room, Tom Brady, his retirement, and the leadership and how that looks. But now we're going to get to our Typico sports book. They're going to change the way that you bet with their new Typico rewards program. The more you bet, the more you earn, the more you win. Get up to 5% cash back on your bets. Be sure to check out our daily big play boosts, giving you the best odds and parlays on Ohio sports. And don't forget to follow along with all your favorite big play personalities on social media each week to lock in bets all week long. Must be 21 years old to gamble. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Now, besides Ohio State, Joshua, who do you think has the best odds in the Big Ten to make the playoff?
Well, feels like Oregon is that team that everybody's talking about. Dan Lanning has done a hell of a job with that program. He's tried to build it as an SEC program out west there, but they got Dylan Gabriel at quarterback. They've done a really good job in the transfer portal. Defensively, they've been coming along, been pretty good the last couple of years. I think they're a team that people feel really confident about. And of course, Ohio State, Oregon playing the regular season. It's going to be one of the biggest games of the year. But if I had to pick a team that wasn't Ohio State, I think Oregon, the arrow's pointing up.
I would say so. They're the next most talented team. And you look at the national championship odds, it's like Ohio State and Georgia clustered right there. And then you've got a little drop, and you have Oregon and Texas like in that next group. And Dan Lanning got a talented roster. What's interesting is Ohio State, like this is going to be the first test of this. Like, they may have to beat them twice in order to win the Big Ten. Like, or maybe I guess you can lose the regular season, win the Big Ten, but it has a feeling that there's going to be a rematch of that game out in Autzen, potentially in Indy this year.
No, that'd be a hell of a rematch to see too, right? But like I agree with you. I think we're in that era right now where if you're on a championship path, the best team in your conference might not just be a one-time affair. You're probably going to have to square up with them once again.
Yeah, whether that's the championship or even in the playoff. Dark horse. I mean, is Penn State considered a dark horse? I feel like James Franklin's got them geared up to get in. I mean, I would like them as probably the third team from the Big Ten to make it in this year, assuming Drew Aller takes that step that we believe he's going to take.
I think that's probably the safe pick there. Drew Aller definitely needs to take a step, and they got a new offensive coordinator over there. It should certainly help. I don't know if they're going to be good enough at wide receiver. Like that's been an issue for them. They've played well on defense. They got Tom Allen coordinating their defense, too, the former Indiana coach. So a couple new coordinators. But yeah, no, I mean, he's aggressive. I think he's a hell of a football coach. It's a shame it didn't work out for him at Indiana. But I think that would probably be the team. A team that I think is going to be interesting this year, and I'm not saying to make the playoff, but I think Rutgers is not the doormat that they used to be anymore. I'm going to stump here for a sec. So they won 7 games last year. Schedule, they got Howard, Akron, Virginia Tech, Washington, Nebraska, Wisconsin, UCLA, USC. And then they got Minnesota, Maryland, Illinois, Michigan State.
Ooh, I like that schedule.
It sets up for them to have one of the best years that they've had in quite a while. So not to make the playoff, but a team that's kind of a dark horse to make a little bit of noise, I'd look out.
Another team that I like is a dark horse, a little bit out west, also that little red and white and black, Nebraska. Like it feels if Rayola's good, like how they manage that. I really like Rule as a coach. You know, didn't work out at Carolina because you don't have a quarterback, but you look at what he did in college at Baylor and at Temple. Feels like last year they made some headway. This maybe not winning 10 this year, but you feel like they could be in a situation, Joshua, where they're winning maybe that 8, 9 and like competitive and maybe even beat a team that would be an upset that you wouldn't see happening.
I think their first 6 or 7 games too, they should be undefeated. When they play Ohio State, it might be undefeated versus undefeated in that game too. So it'd be interesting, no doubt.
Absolutely. Well, hey, thank you for tuning in. Big show. Gonna have another big show for you next week, as we always do. Joshua, thank you once again. Thanks for watching the Bobby Carpenter Show.